Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We are going to give people about another minute and a half to join us, and then we will get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Motivating Students with Yoga in the Classroom. This presentation is part of our Wellness Wednesday webinar series, and it's brought to you by Action for Healthy Kids. My name is Carol Muller. I am the Regional Field Manager for Action for Healthy Kids in Colorado. And in a few minutes, I will introduce our main presenter today, Christina Shelton. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and point out some of the technology to you. Once you're linked in, you should see a control panel, usually on the right side of your screen. You can use your telephone or your speakers to listen in, but we will be muting everybody to avoid static and any background interference. You'll see a control or a dialog box at the bottom of your control panel. The red arrow points to that on the screen. And be sure to type in any questions into that dialog box as we're going along, and we will try to get them answered later in the presentation. Or if we run short on time, we will answer them via email following the webinar. This presentation is being recorded, and we will send you links to the recording and any handouts or resources within 2 to 3 business days after the webinar. So let me share a little information about Action for Healthy Kids for those of you that are just joining us for the first time. We are a national nonprofit. We fight childhood obesity, undernourishment, and physical inactivity, chiefly by helping schools become healthier places. We really are a network of parents and students. We work with educators and community leaders, and there are lots of health professionals in our network. We all really feel that it's important to create a healthier learning environment, and we believe that everybody has a role to play in this. We have a lot of programs, tools, and resources that help to make that possible. Today we have more than 90,000 people in our network, and we also partner with hundreds of school districts and state agencies and other organizations across the country. We really are trying to create those school communities, not just where children are going to learn how to make healthy choices, but where they also get the opportunity to practice making those healthy choices every day. And we really try to help our members and supporters learn about the issues. We want them and to inspire them and give them the resources they need to take action in their schools and really work to get their school cultures transformed. And with that said, our goals for today's webinar are that you come away understanding the benefits of using yoga in the classroom, and you get some practical tips for taking action, specifically for getting a yoga program off the ground at your school or in your classroom. When you add a yoga program to other initiatives that promote physical activity and good nutrition, you really are doing your part, and you're well on your way to transforming that school culture to ensure that every kid is healthy and ready to learn. So with that introduction to the topic, I would like to present Christina Shelton. She is Action for Healthy Kids State Coordinator for Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Christina has a master's degree in health promotion management, and she has an extensive background in health and physical education. She is also a certified health education specialist, a group exercise instructor, and a registered yoga teacher through Yoga Alliance. And I'm going to turn it over to you now, Christina. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Carol. I'm excited to be here today presenting this webinar on integrating yoga into the classroom. This is a topic that I feel passionate about and one that I've seen work for so many classroom teachers. Integrating yoga-based movements and practices into the classroom is beginning to gain popularity as teachers continue to look for ways to add movement into the learning environment. Before we talk about how to add yoga-based movements into the classroom, let's first review the basics of yoga and some of its benefits. So first, what is yoga? Yoga is a practice that includes breathing techniques, yoga postures, and mindfulness. The most common breathing technique used in yoga is often referred to as diaphragmatic breathing, which we will cover in today's webinar. Yoga is also founded upon yoga postures or poses, and we will cover some recommended poses for the classroom today. Mindfulness is the practice of focusing your attention on the present moment. In yoga, we often use the breath and yoga postures to guide the mind toward a state of mindfulness. Teaching students to be mindful can have a positive impact on overall well-being. We'll talk further about some of the benefits on today's webinar. Yoga as a function of physical exercise is often referred to as hatha yoga. There are many types of yoga and philosophies that provide the foundation for a yoga practice. Today, we are going to primarily focus on the physical movements of yoga as well as breathing techniques. And last, yoga is for everybody. It's often assumed that one must already be flexible and physically fit to participate in yoga. In truth, all yoga practices can be modified to fit the age, goals, and abilities of every practitioner. Its inclusive nature and ability to be practiced anywhere makes it a great fit for classrooms. Let's talk a little bit about the many benefits of yoga for both the students and teachers. These benefits are not only supported by research-driven data, but also provide the why we should integrate yoga into any learning environment. First, yoga can help to increase academic readiness. The physical movement, mindful exercises associated with yoga prepare the brain for learning. Yoga has been proven to enhance focus, concentration, comprehension, and memory. It improves listening skills, wakes up sluggish minds, and promotes creativity. Yoga creates a safe, modifiable, and inclusive environment for creating physical movement, allowing all students to be both safe and successful. We'll cover some suggested postures in later slides. Yoga poses can help to improve physical fitness by improving posture, balance, coordination, and body awareness, and at the same time, teaches simple self-relaxation strategies and mindfulness techniques, thus promoting a more relaxed and comfortable state of being, which of course is the perfect state for teaching and learning. Yoga can also help to reduce anxiety and tension. It can help improve self-confidence, self-esteem, and peer relationships. And last, yoga can enhance organizational and communication skills. It helps to create an atmosphere of confidence, enthusiasm, and non-competitiveness where everyone can succeed. It provides opportunities for reflection, patience, and insight, can reduce impulsivity, and also can support social and emotional learning. And not only do the students benefit from yoga in the classroom, but teachers also benefit as well. Yoga provides opportunities to create an energetic and calming environment. It can be used to create energy in a classroom when an instructor needs to engage students or to calm students down, perhaps after lunch or recess when energy is high, and the teacher needs to prepare the students for a quieter learning activity. It can provide effective classroom management strategies through additional tools to keep kids active and on task and engaged. It can integrate and it also integrates opportunity for physical health and character education in the classroom. Because yoga promotes and encourages elements of wellness, positive psychology, and inclusion, teachers can easily add in character-building discussion points and elements of healthy living. Of course, as previously covered, yoga improves physical fitness. Because teachers are practicing, modeling, and moving with the students, they will also experience the same physical benefits such as improved posture, flexibility, and strength. And last, yoga creates a positive learning environment. All elements of yoga work synergistically to teach strategies that help students to develop both personal and environmental wellness. Let's come up with some simple tips for classroom teachers to get started. First, teachers should set the stage for yoga-based movements and lesson plans. Share with the students the many benefits of yoga and consider introducing them to yoga through age-appropriate books and stories. When students know what to expect, the transition to new activities is often less confusing while creating an element of excitement. Teachers should designate a predetermined time for yoga. Yoga can be incorporated at any time during the school day. To make it easier on yourself, consider the goals of yoga and then pick a specific time of the day to incorporate the routine on a regular basis. This could be during morning meetings, during transition time, pre-testing and mid-testing breaks, when students are tired or drained while waiting in line, which I've seen used very successfully in many schools, to celebrate or as a community builder. Also, be sure to share with your students when they should expect the yoga practice so that they too can become accustomed to the new schedule. Start with a short 3 to 5 minute session. Keeping the sessions short helps the students to stay actively engaged and ready to learn. Add more time as the students become comfortable with a more advanced practice. And last, prepare the classroom environment. Consider turning the lights down, moving items off desks and tables, perhaps playing music, and rearrange any classroom items that may prohibit movement. Here are some additional tips for getting started. Keep it simple. Teachers are encouraged to choose only 2 to 3 beginner postures or activities that allow students to feel successful with a new activity. Do not feel pressured to teach an entire yoga sequence the first time. Practice and model the movement. As with any lesson plan, teachers should practice the movements and activities ahead of time. Teachers should remember that they too are learners and that there is no perfect yoga pose. When appropriate, teachers are also encouraged to even share their own limitations with students as a way to demonstrate the inclusive nature of yoga. Emphasize the breath. We'll go over some specific breathing exercises in a few slides. When starting, simply remind students to breathe comfortably throughout the practice. Empower students. Be the captain of the ship, but offer choices and modifications. Get involved and be part of the fun. Use helpful tools. Teachers do not need to create yoga-based lessons and activities on their own. There are so many amazing and useful tools, books, and resources to help you along your journey. We'll present some recommended tools at the end of today's webinar. Consider using music, yoga deck cards, books and stories, coloring pages, and yoga prompts. And last, have fun, and I think this is the key here. The intention is to keep it simple and enjoyable. Use your imagination. Encourage the students to explore their body movements and to connect with the joyful feelings associated with physical activity and breath awareness. So when a teacher is looking at creating a yoga lesson plan, they may want to consider the following as you put together the activity and create the activity for your goals and objectives. So the first thing a teacher will want to do is think about what is the goal. What do you want the students to know and be able to do? Do you want the students to be calmed down, energized, focused? Let the postures you choose reflect the goals and flow of the lesson plan. Breathing exercises. We'll provide a few simple strategies for breath awareness. Consider integrating a few minutes of your yoga lesson to breath work. When students learn that their breath is linked to their state of well-being, they'll realize that they have the power to keep a steady head whenever they need. You may have heard the saying, take a deep breath. While this is a wonderful suggestion based on simple wisdom, it can be harder than you think when you're feeling a little challenged. It's one of the main reasons why we practice it in yoga. Visualization and mindfulness activities. Through visualization, we can invite students to use their imagination to connect to their own inner self, helping students to become connected to both their mind and their body. This helps students to release tension and become calmer. Appropriate yoga poses. Consider the age and developmental level of students as well as other constraints and opportunities for challenges. And last, this is one of my favorite tips. Think about brain boosting and creative community building games. Yoga doesn't always have to be an individual practice. Consider partner activities, small and larger group games, and team building exercises. Next, let's talk a little bit about diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing is a simple technique to promote relaxation and mindfulness. This technique focuses on the expansion of the abdomen and diaphragm instead of the chest when breathing, therefore allowing the practitioner to focus on longer, deeper breaths rather than short, shallow breaths. Diaphragmatic breathing matches the inhalation to the exhalation. Often, practitioners will count up to 4 or 5 for the inhale and then back down to 0 for each exhale. This can help to match each breath. So let's take a moment and practice this technique. Sitting tall in your chair, breathe deeply through your nose into your belly. Imagine that your abdomen is a balloon. Fill up the balloon with air as you inhale, letting your belly, ribs, and then your chest expand. Exhale completely, letting it all go. Repeat several times. During this practice, my students said if they feel lightheaded, he or she should return to their normal breathing pattern and return to the practice at a later time. Teachers are encouraged to use this brief activity with students to help them learn the premise of diaphragmatic breathing before, during, and after the practice of yoga postures. Here are 2 other breathing exercises for students that can help to provide a visualization of diaphragmatic breathing. First, the hot air balloon breath uses the visualization of blowing up a balloon with the hands to demonstrate the expansion of the belly. This breath encourages full and expansive inhales and deep cleansing exhales. So let's practice. Sitting in a comfortable position, start by cupping your hands around your mouth. Take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly start to blow out through your mouth, growing your hands outward in time with your exhale, as if you were blowing up an enormous hot air balloon. This long, deep exhalation as you blow up your hot air balloon has a relaxing effect, and the image can be incredibly vivid for students' imagination. The second activity, the bumblebee breath, involves an extended exhale, which is especially effective at calming the parasympathetic nervous system. Producing a sound while closing the eyes and blocking the ears makes it easier for young children to bring their focus inward, although this can also be used for adults and teens alike. Doing bumblebee breath introduces students to the importance of the senses and the idea that sometimes closing off our senses and finding that quiet place can help to calm, soothe, and focus. And not to mention, it just feels really good. So let's practice this one. Sitting comfortably in a seated or standing position, breathe in through your nose. Then with your fingers in your ears, hum out the exhalation. The comforting sound and vibration can have a calming effect. And if you close your eyes, it can make the sensation even more peaceful. Let's talk a little bit about yoga postures. While there are many yoga postures to choose from, here are 5 simple postures that are appropriate for any age or ability level and can be done without any special equipment or props. Teachers are encouraged to consult with additional yoga resources, certified yoga instructors, or other reliable materials for teaching cues and modification. And unfortunately, due to the time constraints of today's webinar, we just don't have the time to talk specifically about cueing each of the poses, but we will review the benefits so that you'll know which poses are right for you. And as we said, we recommend that you follow up with some additional resources for cueing. So the first is seated spinal twist. This is a posture that's great for restoring and maintaining normal spinal rotation, and it's perfect for students who have been sitting for long periods of time. The seated rainbow pose is a pose that provides a nice lateral flexion to stretch out the sides of the body and to engage core strength. Airplane pose is a pose that includes balance and coordination, strength, and helps to cultivate mindfulness. Frog pose incorporates a number of benefits, including strengthening the legs, opening up the hips, and increasing balance. And star pose, which is an active and invigorating yoga pose that energizes the body and improves posture. Its open stance can feel expansive and is often considered to be a pose that brings joy. And I just want to note here that I know that the model, which is actually my daughter, is an elementary age student. These are great for elementary age, but we can also incorporate them for middle school, high school, and even adults can easily do these postures and can be added into the classroom. So I think we're going to take a moment here and see if anyone has any questions. And I invite everyone to enter in a question if you have anything, and we'll pause.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions, Christina. First
Sure.
one, what is the best time to provide yoga lessons at school?
The best time during the day? I guess the answer is there's no simple answer, unfortunately. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for yoga to be more calming and more peaceful, you may want to use it after recess or after an energetic lesson where you're trying to bring the students back down and calm them. If you're looking for it to bring more excitement and more energy, you might want to incorporate it in morning meetings or maybe after a quieter activity. I've also seen it used very successfully when classes are waiting in line for the bathroom or our students are walking down the hall. Maybe they're working on a bumblebee breath or diaphragmatic breathing. So I would say the bigger question is, what do you want out of the activity? And then that would sort of drive when you're going to use it.
And there's a follow-up question, which perhaps is the same, similar. How many times a week should you conduct the classes at school?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I would say start maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, but try to have it at the same time during the day so that the students start to know that it's a pattern and they start to feel comfortable with it. So if you're going to use it in morning meeting, maybe you start once or twice a week. You start to build some momentum, you build some success and sustainability, and then you add as you go. But definitely start slow, start easy, try not to get too overwhelmed, and then build that confidence and then sort of grow it from there.
Okay, and we'll do one more before we move on. Are there certain yoga poses that should not be done by children that might put them at risk?
Yeah, there are definitely some contraindicated poses that we don't want students to be doing, and that's something where you'll definitely want to consult additional yoga resources. The ones that we're presenting today are ones that students can do seated or standing without really any props. But we definitely would suggest that unless you're a qualified teacher with, you know, the appropriate materials, anything like headstands or inversions, any deep twists, but you know, anything where you can sort of see that there might be an increased risk of harm for the students or they might get hurt. But we'll talk about ways to give modifications and keep kids safe too at the end of today's webinar.
Great. All right. Oh, there is the question slide. It was more interesting looking at your daughter anyway, because she's so cute. Okay, let's, all right, go ahead and continue on, and you're going to talk about elementary students now. Great.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about some simple, fun yoga activities to help anyone start with elementary age students. And these are, again, ones that I've seen and I've done and I know work. This, of course, is not an exhaustive list, so this will just give you a few ideas to get started. The first suggestion is maybe to relate yoga poses to animals, animal sounds, characters, and stories. This could be things from books, songs, curricula items that you already have. Allow children to create and name new yoga poses and then demonstrate it to the class. Again, this doesn't have to be a yoga pose that's already been done. Allow students to explore their body, to be creative, to use their body in new ways, and then to creatively name the pose for the class. Play freeze dance when the music stops. Have students freeze in a yoga pose. Have students pair up and mirror one another using yoga poses. This could be especially helpful for students who need to see a pose before they can do it. And then the last one is one of my favorites. It's to have the class create a personalized class set of yoga pose deck cards by having each student pick, illustrate, and then name a yoga pose on an index card. Let's talk a little bit about teens, tweens, and yoga. While we often think and hear of yoga for elementary students, it's important to remember that middle and high school students can also benefit from yoga-based movements and lesson plans. Aside from the physical benefits and the other benefits that we've talked about earlier in today's webinar, yoga can also teach teens techniques for coping with the unique issues they're faced with every day. These issues may include insecurity about their changing bodies, the enormous pressure to fit in, stressful schedules, uncertainty about their beliefs and in their futures. So here are a few tips for success when working with tweens, teens, and yoga. First, set boundaries, but provide opportunity for exploration. Allow teens to have a sense of autonomy, but provide guidelines and expectations to keep students safe but engaged. Build mutual respect. Do the activities with your students, especially since those are beneficial to all who do them. Your students deserve to feel and be at their best, and so do you. Sequence for success. Consider the lesson objectives and space constraints, and consider consulting with your PE teacher to learn more about doing physical movement. Link poses that fit together and flow together, and those that foster feelings of independence and self-esteem. So when you're choosing yoga poses for tweens and teens and sort of that older student, teachers should select postures that focus on the following. And the first is postural alignment. When sitting or standing, remind students to relax their shoulders down, back and down away from their ears, and to align their head over their spine. And I think this is significant given how much time we all spend on our phones and on technology. And this can lead to a rounding of the upper back and shoulders, which can cause neck and shoulder pain, headaches, and other muscular tension. Second, consider postures that provide openness and range of motion through the chest and shoulders, hips, and lower back. Again, most of our students are sitting for most of the day. The focus of our yoga practice is to create flexibility and areas where we are tight, and to create physical strength where we are weak, thus creating a sense of well-being and balance within the body. Third, balance and body awareness. This can be challenging as teens face insecurities about their changing bodies. Just simply remind students that with practice, both balance and body awareness can be restored. And fourth, challenging but achievable movement. Teens love to feel challenged, but we have to keep them safe and modify accordingly. Encourage students to try different modifications to determine the best version of the pose for their body and their mind. Keep the format flowing and moving, and make sure that one pose or activity leads to the next. And last, consider fun partner poses or group activities. This is a really fun way and an energetic way to build a sense of trust and community building within your learning space. So here are some additional yoga postures that work specifically to build postural alignment, to open the shoulders and hips, and to create a sense of confidence and well-being. All of these postures can be done with or without yoga mats and props. As stated before, we definitely encourage you to consult with additional resources, certified yoga instructors, for teaching cues and modifications. The first one, which is standing forward fold, is great because it stretches out the hamstrings, calves, and hips, and it has a calming effect on both the mind, and it has even been shown to relieve stress and mild depression. Chair pose is a great pose that strengthens the ankles, thighs, calves, and spine, and it stretches the shoulders and the chest. Eagle pose, which is a balance pose, loosens and strengthens the ankles and hips, wrists, and shoulders. It helps to release tightness between the shoulder blades and across the sacrum. And this is even really great for teens. It helps to cultivate confidence and can also help them to strengthen their leg muscles. Cow face pose, this is a posture that stretches the ankles, hips, thighs, shoulders, armpits, and triceps and chest. Seated figure four, which you can see the person is in a chair, but this could also be seated on the floor, stretches the hips, glutes, and lower back. And seated camel, which stretches the entire front of the body, the ankles, thighs, and deep hip flexors, and stretches and strengthens the back muscles. And again, let me just note here that this is also perfect for adults who are at our desk all day. These are very simple, easy to do postures that can have tremendous benefits for ourselves. So now we've covered some yoga postures. We've talked about diaphragmatic breathing. We've talked about some lesson planning ideas. But let's talk a little bit further about how we can keep kids safe. And I know this is a major concern for teachers and instructors when initiating any yoga practice. The first is to encourage students to explore how their body moves. Remember, yoga is exploration with the body. Ask students to only move their body in ways where it feels good and comfortable, and encourage them to try different modifications to determine the right variation of the pose to fit his or her body. If the pose invokes any sensations of pain or significant discomfort, encourage the student to come out of the pose entirely. Remember to allow the students to vary their movements to self-select more or less intensity. Ask them how it feels and provide examples of ways to reduce or increase intensity. Remind them that not all yoga postures look the same. We don't have to look like the models in Yoga Journal, right? Most of us will never get there, but that doesn't mean that we still can't do yoga. And we want to encourage them to choose the way that is going to feel the best. We want to also guide students to continue to breathe deeply during all movements and to practice that diaphragmatic breath during all of their movements in their yoga practice. If at any time the breath becomes short, shallow, or even reduced, if students have a difficulty breathing during the practice, cue them to lessen their intensity of the posture to regain a deep, comfortable breath. If a student experiences shortness of breath or difficulty where they're having a challenging time, breathing at all, they should be immediately cued to come out of the pose and regain his or her normal breathing pattern. And last, appreciate that different students have different capabilities and needs. As with all learning activities, some students will immediately enjoy and become engaged in a yoga practice, while others may struggle with the movements, the breathing patterns, or just the general nature of a new activity. Remember to be patient, provide encouragement, and offer modifications for all movements so that every student can be successful. So here are some helpful planning resources that we came up with. Any teacher beginning to research yoga resources, you'll immediately realize that there's a significant amount of information available for lesson planning, cueing, and yoga-based activities. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. What I suggest for all teachers and school staff and people interested in integrating yoga into the learning environment is to start to build up your own resource library and to also reach out to other teachers for tips, best practices, and funding opportunities to support a yoga program in your school. Yoga deck cards, you can order these online for under $10. They're wonderful. Yoga for Children is a book by Lisa Flynn that I've used before, and it's great. Yoga Journal, Namaste Kid, and the Kids Yoga Resource are great websites to find postures and cueing and articles, tons of great information. And then Yoga Foster, which is a fabulous nonprofit organization that we've worked closely with over the past few years, is a nonprofit that trains classroom teachers on how to integrate yoga. So it's actually an online training that is free, and they can help to connect you with yoga mats and other grant resources. So definitely connect to Yoga Foster. They're a great resource if you're looking for additional training beyond this webinar. So there are many reasons why teachers love yoga in the classroom. Yoga teaches students healthy habits and guides them through movements that optimize strength, flexibility, and balance. Not only can these skills be used in the classroom, but they can also be used out of the classroom for lifelong health and well-being. Further, yoga has been shown to have a positive impact on school wellness culture, perhaps impacting not only students and teachers, but those within the school community itself. It really is a holistic, comprehensive program that any school or classroom can easily integrate with potentially big results. And after today's call, if anybody has any questions or comments or resources, please reach out to me. Those of us in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area have created a pretty strong network of yoga resources, but if you're out of that region, we can definitely help you. So please don't hesitate to email me or get in touch with me if I can be a resource for you. So that's it for me, Carol. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you so much, Christina. Great information. We really appreciate it. We don't have time for any more questions right now, but there are a couple more that came in, and I'm gonna send them to Christina, and then she can connect with you via email if we didn't get it answered. And know that the resources that you saw on the slide, that the slide handouts, we're going to send all of those to you in the follow-up email so that you'll have it all right in your inbox within the next 2 to 3 days. If you have not already signed, or actually if you signed up for this webinar, then you are signed up for all of the webinars in our Wellness Wednesday series, and those are just listed on the screen. So we have a lot of additional good ones coming. We also want to point out that if you're not already following us on Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube, you can get a lot of great additional health tips, physical activity games and recipes, etc. If you follow us on social media. And definitely check out our website and learn all about our school programs and our tools and our resources. We have a lot of great things to offer that can help you out with your school wellness efforts. That concludes our webinar today. And as I said, you should get something in your inbox in the next 2 to 3 days. And thanks again to Christina and to everybody for taking the time to join us. And we wish you all the very best of luck implementing yoga in the classroom. Thank you.